This is the Delta presentation. There's a lot of people here. Okay. Oh my God, I was here a while. Your hair has changed colors. You're working too hard. Come on up, go closer. So you want to stand up here because maybe you'll want to. Come on up, come on, come on, come on. Don't be shy. Okay. I'm excited to introduce a tremendous partnership today that helps bring together professional people, students, and community people. Behind me here today are members of a truly excellent, high-quality educational partnership. I have Dr. Billy Blair, Dean of the School of Education, Cal State Dominguez, Stephanie Burns, Delta coach mentor from Woodcrest Elementary School, Dr. James Cantor, Professional Development School University Coordinator, Cal State Dominguez, Beverly Crosby, Principal, 52nd Street School, and of course, Mr. Johnny Darnell Griggs, who is a partner at Sidley, Austin, Brown, and Wood, and chair of the Los Angeles Educational Partnership. Ms. Renee Jackson, Superintendent, LAUSD, Local District G. Juana Medina, third grade teacher from Menlo Elementary School and Professional Development School graduate. Ms. Carol Mills Marbury, Delta Manual Arts Family PDS practitioner, team leader, and I hope I pronounce this correctly, is it Tisay? Sahai Russell, teacher from 52nd Street School, and of course, Dr. Susan Way Smith, President and CEO of the Los Angeles Educational Partnership. The Delta Local District G Professional Development School, located at 52nd Street School in the 9th Council District, is an initiative of the Los Angeles Educational Partnerships Collaborative, partnering with Cal State Dominguez, Los Angeles Unified School District, Local District G, and of course, LAEP. The school enables emergency permit teachers to prepare for full state certification in a one-year education course offered at urban public school sites. The program has received local, national, and state recognition because it demonstrates high quality as an alternative teacher preparation choice. Most recently, the Delta Local District G Professional Development School was awarded the California Council on Teacher Education's Quality Education Partnership Award at the Council's Fall 2002 conference. The award recognizes the Professional Development School as a thoughtful and powerful design to prepare and retain candidates for teaching in challenging contexts. And since 2000, the year 2000 that is, the Delta Local District G Professional Development School, now in its 4th year, has graduated more than 70 teacher credential candidates, and more than 90 of the graduates from the first 2 years are still teaching in South Los Angeles in District G. The Professional Development School model has now expanded to serve LAUSD Local District I at the Delta Professional Development Center, located at 66th Street Elementary School, also in the 9th Council District. And I want to thank all of the people behind me here today who have worked so hard to make this partnership a success. And through this collaborative effort, they are increasing the supply of teachers in our schools for our community. And for this, I know that we all appreciate what they do, and I want to thank them and give them recognition. And I would like to ask Mr. Griggs if he would come forward and just say a few words.
Good morning. We're so pleased to be here, and we'd like to thank Councilmember Perry and the City Council for this recognition. Educating our children is among the most important thing that we ever do, and we'd like to thank you all for recognizing that. Just a few facts about the Delta program. 74 men and women have graduated from the program since its inception in 1999, prepared to become credentialed teachers. The remarkable thing is that more than 90% of those candidates are still teaching in Local District G. We applaud the efforts of these teacher candidates. We applaud them because their drive to increase their skills will ultimately increase the quality of our children's lives. But you didn't come here to hear from me. So since the Professional Development School is really about the wonderful qualified teaching candidates, it's only fitting that our spokesperson this morning be a graduate of the Professional Development School who teaches at the 52nd Street School currently. Her name is Tasai Russell.
Hello, I'm Sahai Russell. I am currently a first grade teacher at 52nd Street Elementary. I know that one of the challenges facing LAUSD is attracting teachers to hard-to-staff schools. I know that the Delta program is definitely a good tool to recruit teachers. When I decided to pursue teaching as a profession, I learned about the Delta program from a friend who worked at LAUSD and had heard about the program at a meeting. I was very interested because I was looking into other university programs and was attracted to the convenience of being able to take my coursework right on campus. So I decided to apply only to schools that would qualify me for participation in the Delta program. I was asked today to speak about how the Delta program changed or improved my teaching. I remember my first teaching experience. I had entered LAUSD at the end of a school year and was given a 2-month sub-position while I waited for a new school year to begin. I had no experience working with students in an academic setting and was literally put into a classroom with 20 students with no idea of how to plan a day. No idea what the objectives were for the grade level or how to get the students to meet their goals. I remember feeling at the end of that experience so bad for the students because I knew that they had been cheated. I had the desire to do a good job and I cared very much for the success of the students, but it takes more than that to be an effective teacher. It takes a great deal of skill. I was overwhelmed and bewildered, and I knew that if my experience did not improve, that I would not have stayed in the profession. When the next school year began, I started my first full year of teaching at the Delta program. I was teaching a class of students who were repeating the grade level. I began to learn from Delta how to use the California content standards as goals that the students were to achieve for the year, how to assess the students' needs, and how to create lessons that broke the standards down into smaller steps so that the students could work towards meeting their goals for their grade level. As an illustration of this, all of the students who entered my class had a writing proficiency score of 1, which is not proficient. By the end of the school year, all of my students had improved their score at least to a 2, which means partially proficient. Several achieved a 3, which is proficiency for the grade level, and one student actually achieved a 4, which is the highest possible score. I think that's amazing for a group of students who were far below grade level at the beginning of the year. Due in a large part to the training and skills that I developed in the Delta program, this happened. Finally, I want to say that the training and support I received exceeded my expectations, and I'm now looking forward to many more years in the profession of teaching. Thank you.
Thank you very much. This partnership is making a positive impact for all of our kids and the quality of our teachers and our community as a whole, and I know that we want to extend our congratulations. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ms. Perry. Let me now call on Councilmember Tom LaBonge for a presentation. And members, we still are lacking 4 for a quorum with Mr. Burnson, Ms. Galanter, Mr. Holden, Mr. Pacheco, Mr. Reyes, Mr. Weiss, Mr. Padilla. Please come to the chambers.
Madam President, members of the council, education is following education this morning. And teachers, I'm saluting a great professor from the University of Southern California, Mr. Cornelius Schnauber, who was born in Dresden, Germany in 1939 and studied German literature and political science at the University of Hamburg and received his doctoral degree in 1968. He teaches German literature and language psychology at the University of Southern California, where he is the director of the Max Cadel Institute of Austrian German Swiss Studies. Since 1972, he has also been the German diction coach for the Los Angeles Opera. Among his many, many, many publications throughout the years, and the one I like the most is The German Artist in Hollywood. Because as we know, in the terrible time of Nazism, many people left Germany and came to Los Angeles and became part of Hollywood and contributed greatly to Hollywood. And it's absolutely fantastic history, unfortunately, from the terrible activity of the Holocaust that created this migration of German Jews who came to Hollywood and to contribute greatly in film. Since 1972, he's organized many workshops and seminars, lecture series, retrospectives, exhibitions with prominent authors, composers, film artists, directors, and statesmen from the German-speaking communities throughout the United States. He is also a regular at one of the leading European newspapers and the Bavarian Radio, and a member of the PEN of London. His honors include the distinct honor of the Gold Service for the Republic of Austria, awarded by the Federal President of Austria in 1979, the Federal Republic of Germany Friendship Award presented in 1983 by the Ambassador of the Federal Republic of Germany in Washington, and the Cross of the Order of Merit of the Federal Republic of Germany awarded by the President of the Federal Republic of Germany, Richard von Weizsäcker, who was a former mayor of Berlin in 1986. He is a very honored man, but he is a wonderful man with an absolutely fantastic heart and an ability to study history and understand history, to listen to people and to hear their stories so their stories could be told again in the arts and film of the German American community. So, Doctor, it's my honor on this day in the year 2003 to stand here at the chambers of the Los Angeles City Council to salute you for all your work and recognize you for what you've done and contributed as a lasting part of the cultural heritage of this city, of Hollywood, of filmmakers, of the German immigrants, of understanding this long history and also the special friendship between Los Angeles and Berlin, a great sister city of ours. Today we salute Cornelius Schnabel, Doctor, in recognition of all he's done. Please join and congratulate Dr. Cornelius Schnabel. Thank you. Okay. And before he speaks, he was a dear friend for one of the greatest directors, I believe, of all time, Billy Wilder, who, for those who have nothing to do tomorrow night, could go see Double Indemnity at the Alex Theater in Glendale, that great picture that Billy Wilder did. Doctor, please.
Thank you very much, Councilman Labange, dear members of the Council. I thank you very much that I have a chance to talk to you. As a professor, if I would have been given 30 minutes to speak, I would have spoken without a written text. However, to keep my remarks to only 3 to 5 minutes, I need something written. In 30 minutes, a professor can say a lot of nonsense. In 3 minutes, he has to be very precise, a very, very difficult task for an academician. For 1,000 years, Los Angeles was the greatest cultural diaspora in the history of mankind. The 1,000 years, that is between 1933 and 1945, the period of the Third Reich, which, according to Hitler, was supposed to last at least a millennium. Even before 1933, many important artists, especially film artists from the German-speaking countries, came to Los Angeles to work in Hollywood or elsewhere in this town. However, after 1933, almost all important authors, film artists, and musicians from Germany and Austria were refugees and came especially to Los Angeles, as did some important politicians and scientists of the German Weimar Republic. Los Angeles became the cultural capital for German-speaking artists. Between 1933 and 1945, more than 1,500 worked in the Hollywood industry alone. Since I arrived in Los Angeles in 1968, it has been one of my most important goals to make the people in Europe and the United States aware of what a great German metropolis Los Angeles became, with so many German-speaking artists working in Hollywood and influencing the American consciousness through integration of their European cultural heritage into American films and cultural life. And vice versa. I always wanted to show the great influence the United States, especially Hollywood, had on Europe before 1933 and especially after 1945. I have therefore invited numerous leading personalities from the German-speaking countries over the years, former émigrés who returned to Europe, politicians like the presidents of Austria and Switzerland, and the Chancellor of Germany, as well as luminaries from every artistic field to Los Angeles for dialogues and seminars. And since 1990, I have been inviting American artists to Germany, especially to the former East Germany, to perform or conduct dialogues there as well. I plan on continuing these cultural, economic, and political exchange programs and have already discussed some important events I have had in mind with my dear friend, Councilman Tom LaBonge, who has expressed wholehearted support for them and whom I would like to offer my sincere thanks. As sister cities, Los Angeles and Berlin already have close ties. However, I would like to expand that kind of relationship to other German cities, especially my hometown, the beautiful Baroque city of Dresden. I have already begun by bringing Los Angeles-based Jewish organizations like the Shoah Foundation together with the newly built synagogue of Dresden and its community center. Dresden promises to once again become the great cultural beacon it was before 1933. And I sincerely hope that Los Angeles, itself a great cultural light, will be a large part of that retransformation. I thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Professor, and thank you, Mr. LaBonge. Members, we have 8 council members here. We are still awaiting 2 more. Mr. Padilla is on his way. Could council members Burnson and Galanter and Holden please join us in the council chambers? We now have 9 members, and I understand the 10th is coming down the stairs, so we will have a quorum momentarily.
Members of the council, members of the public, thank you very much for your patience today. We have now achieved a quorum. Madam Clerk, would you please call the roll?
Brinson, Galenter, Garcetti, Gruel, Han, Holden, Labange, Mizikowski, Pacheco, Perry, Reyes, Weiss, Sine, Padilla. 10 members present, a quorum, Mr. President.
Thank you very much. I know there's quite a number of folks in the audience who are here for a very special and unfortunate occasion. But if I can ask you to permit us to dispense with a very brief and for the most part routine council agenda, and we will conclude the meeting today with some words from Councilmember Pacheco and various others. Madam Clerk, first order of business, please.
Approval of the minutes.
Mr. Pacheco moves, Mr. Reyes seconds,
Commendatory resolutions for approval.
Mr. Zion moves, and Mr. Garcetti seconds.
Before beginning the regular agenda, Mr. President, item number 4, there's a request from Councilmember Perry to continue that matter for 2 weeks, and that would be January 24th.
Okay, members request to continue item number 4 without objection, so ordered.
On the regular agenda, item number 1 is an item noticed for public hearing. It's a street vacation in Council District 4. If there are no protests, council should instruct the city engineer to proceed with the street vacation.
Okay, members, item number 1 now before us. I do not have requests from members of the public to address the council on this item. We shall deem the public hearing satisfied. We have a recommendation before us. And seeing no members wishing to be heard and without objection, Madam Clerk, please open the roll. Please close the roll and tabulate the vote.
10 ayes.
That is approved.
Item number 2 is also a public
Next
hearing
item.
item. It's a public convenience and necessity in Council District 13, and findings must be made by the council.
Item number 2 now before us. And again, recognizing no members of the public wishing to address the council on this item, public hearings are open and closed. Do we have a motion on item number 2, an item in Council District 13? Mr. Garcetti? Item number 2 is now before us.
It's a public convenience and necessity.
I would ask for my colleagues' support on this.
Okay.
I vote.
Mr. Garcetti moves approval. Seeing no objection, Madam Clerk, please open the roll. Please close the roll and tabulate the vote.
10 eyes.
That is approved. Next item.
Item number 3 is also a public convenience or necessity. It's in Council District 4, and I believe the recommendation on the agenda is to deny the application.
Okay. Members wishing to be heard? No members of the public have submitted cards on this item. Again, public hearing is open and closed.
Yes, on item number 3.
Okay. Recommendation is to deny the application. Mr. Garcetti requests we hold item number 3 on the desk for a few minutes. Let's proceed to the next item.
Next items, Mr. President, items 5 and 6 are items for which public hearings have been held. Item 6 has 2 reports on the agenda, or on the file. However, I believe they are not competing. The Budget and Finance Committee report has an additional instruction for the city attorney to report back.
Okay, item 5 and 6 now before us. Members wishing to call any matter special? Seeing none, Madam Clerk, please open the roll on items 5 and 6. Please close the roll and tabulate the vote.
10 eyes.
Those are approved. Next item.
Next item, Mr. President, items 7 through 16 are items for which public hearings have not been held.
Items 7 through 16 now before us. Do not have requests from members of the public to address the council on these items. Shall deem the public hearing satisfied. Members wishing to call any specials, items 7 through 16. Seeing none, Madam Clerk, please open the roll. Please close the roll and tabulate the vote.
10 eyes.
Those are approved.
And the ordinance on item number 7 will go over for second reading January 17th.
Yes, we do not expect 12 members today. If that is the end of the regular agenda, let us...
I'm sorry, item number 3 is still on the desk. Do you still want to hold that on the desk?
Let's hold on to this for another minute. Let's temporarily recess the regular meeting agenda. Madam Clerk, would you please call the roll on the special meeting?
Burnson, Galanter, Garcetti, Gruel, Hahn, Holden, Labange, Mizkowski, Pacheco, Perry, Reyes, Weisstein, Padilla, 10 members present, and a quorum, Mr. President.
Special meeting is now in session. We have a one-item agenda, and I do not have requests from members of the public to address the council on this item. Members wishing to call this matter special? Seeing none, Madam Clerk, please open the roll. Please close the roll and tabulate the vote.
10 eyes.
That is approved and concludes the special meeting agenda. Let us now adjourn the special meeting, return to the regular meeting. Mr. Garcetti? Okay, I believe that's a matter in the 4th Council District. Mr. Labange? It was mislisted as a 4th. It really is the 13th. So we have a request to continue this matter for 1 week. Is there any objection to that? Seeing none, then let's continue item number 3 for 1 week. The new date for hearing would be January 17th. Madam Clerk, next item, please.
The next item, this is time for comments from the public on items not on council's agenda.
And seeing no requests for public comments, public comment for today's meeting is closed. Next item, please.
Do you wish to clear the desk?
Let's do
I
house-
believe there is a special, I
Let's do
understand there's a
housekeeping
card
first.
coming.
Let's do housekeeping first.
Okay. Council has motions for posting and referral.
Motion shall be posted and referred.
There's a request from Councilmember Galanter to be excused for city business Tuesday, January 21st, Wednesday, January 22nd, and Friday, the 24th. Those all meet council policy, and the 21st a motion is required.
Okay. Do I see a motion? Mr. Zine moves. Those absences are excused.
Okay. Do you wish to take up special 1 at this
If
time?
that clears the desk, before taking up special 1, members of the council, we all know of the tragic news we learned of yesterday. Let me recognize Councilmember Pacheco at this time to share a few words, maybe guide the members of the council, members of the public who are here, also as well as recognize special 1, which has been introduced. Mr. Pacheco.
Mr. President, colleagues, as you know, yesterday, one of my good friends. Thanks. And Chief of Staff, Lloyd Montserrat, passed away. Special one is a small token of recognition for everything that Lloyd not only meant to me, but to the community. I'm not going to go over all the paragraphs and everything in there because I will do that during the adjourning motion. But I would simply ask that you support our request to simply do a dedication. As many of you know, Lloyd worked very much with the communities in not only District 14, but in the entire city and county. And he grew up in Alhambra, and very near to Alhambra, we're going to be constructing the El Sereno branch library. So I just wanted to do a dedication to Lloyd Montserrat at that library and simply ask for your support and vote on special one, and then I'll be back and we can talk about Lloyd during the adjourning motion portion. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Pacheco. We did have a card submitted to speak on this non-agenda item on the passing of Lloyd. Let me call at this time Monica Harmon, who submitted a card to speak.
I hope I can do this. Good morning, council members. Councilman Pacheco, I want to express a deep sorrow on your loss on behalf of the Boyle Heights community. I know if Father John was here, he would have some great words of wisdom, and he'd know what to say. For many of us here today that are the most vocal and active community members of Boyle Heights, Lloyd was a true friend. He made us feel like you, Councilman Pacheco, that you were always available to the community members who had issues, problems, or simply needed an answer. He was always appreciative of us as the community members whenever we attended events, went out to meetings that we saw him at. I remember a year ago coming this February 18th when we marched from Hollenbeck Police Station to Parker Center, how proud Lloyd was of the community. He came to our meeting a couple of days later, and he sat with his little laptop, and he was showing us the coverage, the news coverage that we had received this day. And he thanked us and told us that we had put Boyle Heights on the map. He sat like a proud peacock. He had the enthusiasm and the motivation. Just 2 weeks ago when we last saw him at Councilman Pacheco's kickoff campaign. Councilman Pacheco, there will be a void. However, I'm here to say that we will try to fill that void by supporting you and working very hard to get you reelected. More than anything, we know that that's what Lloyd would have wanted us to do. Many community members support you, and we don't want you to lose your seat. Tomorrow, we will be out in force, campaigning for you in the community with that extra effort, because Lloyd is going to give us the motivation and the inspiration, because he would have been out there with us as he always was. Nick, we support you. We're here for you, and you are not alone. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Harmon. Let me recognize that the chamber is filled with supporters and friends of Lloyd's. Let me ask the city attorney to help us make the findings on the special one.
In order for the council to consider Councilman Pacheco's motion today, there is a necessity that the council make a determination that under the provisions of the government code and the rules of the city council, that there is a need to take immediate action on this matter, and that the need to take this action came to the attention of today's council meeting subsequent to the posting of today's city council agenda.
All right, open the roll on the finding. Does anyone wish to speak on the findings? Seeing none, let's open the roll on the findings. Close the roll. Tabulate the vote.
11 ayes.
All right, that matter is before us. I have received another card to speak on Special 1, the motion on the dedication. Let me call Juan Jimenez.
Good morning, City Council members and Chairperson. My name is Juan Jimenez. I'm a member of the community of the 14th District, and I'm also a spokesman for the Ball Heights Neighborhood Council of Quadrant Number 2. We represent nearly 20,000 people, and this was a shock to our community of losing such a fine man. We wish that we knew more of him, but what little we knew of him, he spoke from the heart. He was concerned about the community, and I think that his loss has not gone, but actually he touched a lot of people, and I believe that Lloyd will go on and continue. And those people he touched will actually be more than happy to fulfill his desire, because I know he was a dedicated employee to Nick Pacheco. And Nick Pacheco doesn't probably realize it now that he has been blessed very good by a good person. And he actually lost a staff but gained the community due that tragedy. And it's sorrow, and I feel sorry because I know you're lost, because we lost our consultant who was with us for 32 years, who was retired from the city of Los Angeles, Sandra Hurwitz. So I share that loss. And I think that he's a great man, that we've just lost this community. And I think that I'm really proud and happy that you passed this motion. And I believe that unfortunately, that it takes this kind of situation where we all come together. But my condolence to the family. Thank you.
Thank you. Members, we now have a Special 1 before us. Is there anyone wishing to speak on the motion? If not, it is before us. Open the roll, close the roll, tabulate the vote.
11 ayes.
That matter is approved. Let's send that forthwith to the mayor. Madam Clerk, any else?
That clears the desk, Madam President.
The desk is now clear. Are there any announcements? If not, could we all rise for adjourning motions? Mr. Pacheco.
Once again, Madam President, colleagues, I want to tell you a little bit about Lloyd. Some things I didn't even know myself, so I thought it would be important to share them with you. Lloyd was born in 1966, December. His parents, immigrants from Ecuador. His father passed away when he was a teenager. He survived by his mother, Olga Montserrat, his brother, Ernest Montserrat, and his fiancée, Michelle Ramos. Many of you might remember Michelle. She was my first press deputy when I arrived here at the council. Lloyd grew up in the community of Alhambra, was an altar boy at All Souls Catholic Church. Didn't quite make it to Loyola High School, but he ended up at St. Francis, which is almost as good, and La Cañada. Lloyd was an Eagle Scout. I don't know how many of you went through scouting, but that's a pretty difficult task. He was elected associate student body president at UCLA, established NALEO's training for newly elected officials, a program that was done nationwide. Many of you know he worked for numerous candidates. Lucia Rivera for school board, Ed Reyes, campaign manager for Ed Reyes for city council, Pedro Carrillo for Assembly, Vicky Castro for Assembly, Jocelyn Yap for Assembly, and many other people, including my own City Council election and re-election. But I think one of the things that I'll never forget is around December of 2000, I received a call from Dick Gephardt from Washington, D.C., because in November of 2000, in Lloyd, in June of 2000, a year after I got elected, Congresswoman Lucille Roy Ballard, Congressman Javier Becerra, who's here with us, talked about the DCCC wanting someone who could really work to get 6 congressional candidates elected, and that they really felt that getting out the Latino vote would be pivotal. So they put some real money behind Lloyd's strategy and efforts. And so they assigned the following races to Lloyd: Jane Harmon, Cal Dooley, Adam Schiff, Mike Honda, I'm missing one. Who am I missing? Shelley Berkeley, and one more. Susan Davis from San Diego. Lloyd won all 6 races, or they won all 6 races, and Gephardt called me to tell me that he was really grateful and how important it was to retain those seats in California, and Shelley Berkeley from Las Vegas. And Lloyd was someone who you always knew was thinking about what was right for the community and how to get people and motivate people to come out. He was widely respected and admired by neighborhood residents, community organizations, and members of all levels of government. A couple of Lloyd's favorite projects. One that I know many of you are very envious of, which is the Washington Boulevard Bulky Item Recycling Center. I know many of you have commented, have visited, and have asked the Board of Public Works for your own bulky item recycling center. He was also instrumental in the Neighborhood Leadership Institute, and you've seen classes come forward. Hundreds of people who the departments, especially our public works departments, have trained to access city government for street services, for improving their neighborhoods. You know, last year, right after September 11th, the Hollenbeck Division experienced a spike in homicides during the first quarter. Lloyd worked with the CPAB, with the police department, with the park rangers, with the community-based organizations, with the mothers in Dolores Mission and the mothers in Ball Heights, and all of the different families and activists to address this homicide problem. And for the remainder of the year, because of those efforts, we only had 11 homicides in the remainder of the year after that spike. And I think Lloyd really believed in the power of people coming together to not only make things better for themselves, but for the entire community. Lloyd created a team spirit within the office, and will always be remembered for ending the meetings with "Go Team." He always had a positive attitude. I told a lot of people from the press yesterday that Lloyd was a person who, every time someone was upset with the office, or, a project got derailed for some reason, he had the magic, the ability to sit down with anybody and get it back on track. He would come back to the office and he would tell me, all you need to do is A, B, and C, and we're back on track, and everything will go forward. He loved the Dodgers and his fantasy baseball. He, once again, couldn't go to Cal Berkeley. That's where I went. So he went to UCLA and was a proud Bruin. Very, very proud to be a UCLA graduate. I want to tell you that I want to bring up everyone from my staff, and I want to show you how creative a chief of staff can be. He brought people in from all over, from everywhere in the district, from everywhere who he thought could contribute. So if all staff members could just come behind. The people you see behind me are all staff. Every single one of them was one way or another chosen by Lloyd to be a part of this team. And they all have expressed very sincere sadness of losing Lloyd. And they all know that Lloyd thought, just like I do, that they're all very special, they're all very bright, and they're all very committed to the community. I just wanted to bring them up. And at this point, Madam President, I will ask and leave the floor open for my colleagues, and then the conclusion, we'll take a moment of silence. But at this point, I believe Congressman
Becerra.
Congressman Becerra is here with us.
Madam President, distinguished members of the council, and certainly to my friend and brother, Councilman Nick Pacheco, I appreciate the opportunity to address you. I wish you a great 2003, knowing how much hardship we all have to go through. But I believe in our city, and I believe that all of you will try very hard to do what Lloyd Montserrat would wanted us to do, and that would be to improve the communities of all of Los Angeles. To all of Lloyd's loved ones and his colleagues and his friends, and certainly to those who are supporters of his, I would only add a little bit to what Councilman Pacheco said. I had the good fortune of meeting Lloyd shortly after he finished college, when he was still in Alhambra, and I had the privilege to represent a part of Alhambra in the State Assembly. And the Lloyd that left us on Monday was a Lloyd that I got to know more than 12 years ago. He was the same person, the same energy. He was a gentleman. Better put, he was a gentle man. And you always say, you always hate to lose gentle men. We don't have enough of them. And to leave when you're in your 30s is a tragedy for all who would have been touched by a gentle man. In this time of shock and sorrow, though, I believe that Lloyd would be here asking us to please celebrate his life, and more than that, dedicate ourselves to do what he would have done had he had an opportunity to stay with us a little longer, and that is to continue the work of civic participation, to help communities in Los Angeles, and to believe that everyone has a chance to really make a difference in this country and in this city. And I will stand here and proudly, along with Councilman Pacheco and all of you and all of his loved ones, rededicate myself to that, because I think that in Lloyd we not only lost a friend, but we lost a gentleman. So, Madam President and distinguished members of the City Council, I thank you, and to Councilman Pacheco, I thank you for this opportunity to say a few words on behalf of a good friend and someone whom I will never forget.
Thank you. The chair now recognizes Councilmember Ed Reyes.
Thank you, Council President. I'm still in shock to hear what happened to Lloyd. Many things that have been said about him are so true. But the memories I have of him is that of a person who became a friend of my family, my kids, during a very trying time in the campaign. Now, most of us who've been through this rigorous, high, tense environment know how hard it is on a family, on a person. But Lloyd gave everything. He was the guy that would stay awake 2 or 3 days in a row to make sure everyone was ready. He's the one that would call my wife Martha and say how things are going. He'd spend that time with the kids at dinner. We'd talk strategy. So I can't believe what has happened. When my compadres said, Ed, you know, you can't make sense of this. But the Lord has many angels, and he decides when to call them up. I truly believe Lloyd is one of those angels who's finally gone home. So I'm happy and proud we're naming a library after him. It is only symbolic that he would want to take care of our children. And I'm just sorry that this has happened.
Thank you. Councilmember Padilla.
Thank you, Madam Chair. First of all, to our colleague and friend Nick and his family, his staff, and all the community members who are here, please know that we share the grief with you. Members of the council, it wasn't just a staff person who the city family has lost. I mean, if you can tell through the words and the emotions that Councilman Pacheco has shared with us, he wasn't just a chief of staff. He was a friend. But I know better, Nick. He wasn't just your friend. He had become your brother. Ed, he was your brother. It wasn't just politics y'all talked about. And I think that's a tribute to Lloyd. Some of what I shared with my own staff yesterday was the people standing in these chambers today, or maybe even watching from home, will have only known Lloyd in his capacity in the 14th Council District. And although he did that job and he did it well, I think that's shortchanging Lloyd's legacy. He wasn't just about the city of Los Angeles and City Hall. He wasn't just about the 14th District. As we heard, some of his previous activities and accomplishments, he was multidimensional. Yes, he was one of the best campaigners around, but it wasn't just about winning elections. He knew how to move issues. He knew how to move agendas. We heard about what he tried to do when it came to education. And Ed from your office was sharing with me the stories yesterday about the early days of trying to move the Belmont projects forward. We knew what he did just last year in galvanizing the community to respond to issues of public safety. Whether we saw him on the front of the picture or not, we knew Lloyd has his touch there. He was moving public policy in ways, I think, equal to ways that we do as elected officials, but in a different way. The common string of all of his efforts were involving the community. Yes, he was political. Yes, he was a public servant. Yes, he was a community activist, a community organizer. Yes, he was about empowering people. And he's getting a very deserved tribute today here in council chambers in the great city of Los Angeles. And over the next several days, many of us will participate in services commemorating Lloyd and what he was about. But members of the council, I want to share or emphasize at least two more things. One is, Lloyd was the kind of guy that through his work and through his values and philosophy and approach, touched people beyond the 14th district. He had already become a legend at the age of 36 throughout the greater east side of the city of Los Angeles and throughout the Latino community statewide. I'm not from the east side, but I felt Lloyd's impacts for the last 10 years since I've been involved in politics. I don't think he had an equal. Second, Lloyd will not get his just due. This is my heart talking now, and it's unfortunate that I believe the only reason he won't get his just due in terms of recognition and tribute publicly is because he was not an elected official. His family will mourn, his friends will mourn, and the people who really matter will know what Lloyd was about and what he did in life. But Lloyd is someone that we could all learn from and learn a lot from. And I think he unfortunately won't get the opportunity because he wasn't an elected official. If he was a member of the council or a member of the assembly or a member of Congress, there would be banner headlines, front page stories with the same list of accomplishments. I'm not resentful that that might not happen, but I share that to underscore for those of you who maybe didn't feel Lloyd's presence and impact as much as many of us, or maybe who didn't get to know Lloyd as much as some of us, that if that description gives you a sense of the magnitude of who Lloyd was and the impact he has made throughout the greater East Side, to the Latino community at large, and throughout the state of California, if that just gives you a taste of what he meant to this community, then maybe you can reflect upon that. Maybe you can help us honor Lloyd and his legacy by sharing that with others. I too feel like I've lost a brother.
Mr. Zine.
Thank you, Madam President, colleagues. I knew Lloyd as a huge man with a huge heart. A man, and one night after a redistricting meeting, Nick Pacheco, Lloyd, and I went out to dinner, and we talked politics. And Lloyd was the kind of an individual that would talk from the people's perspective. People would understand what he was referring to, the direction. And I know from the times I've seen him at City Hall in his blue Ford as he would come in and leave, and his infectious smile. Lloyd had a huge smile. Lloyd was a large man with a large heart and a large capacity to care and to give. And I wasn't familiar with all the activities he'd been involved with in his political life since UCLA, but I had a glimpse of that from my friend and colleague, Nick Pacheco. And I went to the kickoff of Nick's campaign in his office in East LA, and Alex Padilla was there, and the room was filled with hundreds of people. And Lloyd was there in a t-shirt, and Lloyd was there working. He was working to assemble everyone, to make sure that everything was going smoothly. But I remember, and I'll always remember, and I see what was passed out to us. Lloyd with that huge smile, that embracing smile, that friendship. And the night that we had dinner, we spoke, we talked, created a bond. And at 36 years of age, to be engaged, to be married, to have a life with a partner, to enjoy all those things that many of us enjoy in life, and to have that cut short at the prime of his life when he was so involved in his community, and to see the outpouring in this chamber from the community that Lloyd worked, that's a true reflection, a true tribute for what he's accomplished. And his memory will live on. His name will be on that library. People will be able to recognize that Lloyd had a major contribution to Southern California and to other areas of this country. But I'll always remember that smile. This photo will stay on my desk, always knowing what Lloyd did for people and how gracious he was, how friendly he was. And when it came down to rolling up his sleeves and doing the work, Lloyd would pitch in with everyone else and do it. And that was truly reflective at the kickoff at Nick's East LA office. And to his family and to his friends, my condolences. I know there'll be services. Lloyd will be buried in the Catholic tradition. God bless Lloyd. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Zine. The chair recognizes Mr. Garcetti.
Thank you, Madam President. First, let me offer my condolences to Lloyd's fiancée, his parents, and his family, as well as his co-workers today. And let me address the rest of what I have to say to Lloyd, because I know he's someplace and he can hear us right now. Not only does a family mourn today, and a council office and a council district, but I think an entire city mourns your passing. They mourn your passing, Lloyd, because while we heard and we can all chronicle a list of accomplishments and tangible things you did to make people's lives better, you don't judge somebody just by the breadth of their accomplishments, but by the capacity of their heart. And you were somebody whose capacity for love was unequaled. I remember when you came to my own campaign and brought many people with you the last week of my own campaign, and what struck me so much is here was a chief of staff who sat himself in the corner, didn't need to talk to anybody, didn't need to be asked to continue to work, and who sat there talking to one person after another, and speaking from your heart. And your modesty is something, too, that I think we can't underscore enough today. You're an incredibly powerful person, both in what you did, what you had to say, but you were so modest in the way that you would present yourself, so modest in the way that you would have humility in front of the most powerful people in the city, and you would treat them no differently than you would treat the humblest person who came before you, too. I'm glad we're naming a library after you today, but we could name every stop sign, every street, every community center, every recycling center in your name, and it still wouldn't be enough. God bless you, and may you rest in peace, Lloyd.
Thank you. The chair recognizes Councilmember Perry.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I didn't know Lloyd as well as many of you, but I know I experienced the power of his diplomacy in the not too recent past, and that was when Nick and I were engaged in the battle of the decade. And Nick knows that I like and respect him very much because he fights as hard as I do on behalf of the people he represents. And we sat through many of those long, torturous, horrible hearings. And sometimes Lloyd would be in the back of the room, and Nick would then put forward one of his 11 maps. And I'd turn around and I'd glare at Lloyd, and I just say, like, I can't take it anymore, or he's crazy, or I just can't stand that. And then I'd catch myself and I'd say to one of my staff people there, you know what, just go talk to Lloyd. He'll talk some sense into him. And I said, because see, Lloyd's really a nice person, and he'll be able to talk to him. And Lloyd would laugh, and you know, he'd roll his eyes, but I know he went and talked to you. And in the end, Nick and I are friends, and it all worked out. And I can say that's how I'll remember him, as a true gentleman and a diplomat. And I felt, in retrospect, that he really did complete you. And I can't imagine that you'll ever be able to find anybody else like Lloyd again.
Thank you. Chair recognizes Councilmember Hahn.
Thank you, colleagues. I, too, just joined today with immense sorrow and sadness. I am so sorry for your loss and for our loss. I will never forget when I was running for this council seat, and I said, Nick, you got to help me. Nick, are you going to help me? And he said, Janice, I'm going to have Lloyd give you a call. And Lloyd gave me a call, and I don't think he knew me as well as Nick did. But once Lloyd called me, once Lloyd got involved in my campaign, things were different. And I knew that he was a man of his word, and whatever he said he would do to help me, he would. And it gave a tremendous sense of confidence for our campaign. And I think if he had helped me in 1998 when I ran for Congress, maybe I would be a congresswoman today. But this is a better job. I think if we all believe, and I think we do, that the people we elect to office really do make a difference in the lives of average people, then what Lloyd did was truly helped to get the right people elected who ultimately do make a difference for the average person in Los Angeles, in California, across the United States. So I believe that what he has done will have an impact beyond what I think any of us can even imagine today. I was interviewed by the Daily Breeze to make comments about Lloyd, and I'm happy that my quote said, Lloyd was a good guy. Everybody loved Lloyd.
Thank you. The chair recognizes Councilmember Weiss.
Thank you, Madam President. I want to let Lloyd's friends who are here today know how sorry I am for all of you, and I want to extend my most sincere condolences to all of you and to those many friends of Lloyd's and family members who are not here today. I'm very sorry. Everybody who works with me is very sorry, and we all feel your loss and sharing it with you. As I drove in today, I was thinking about Lloyd, and I was trying to conjure up what was the image that I had of him in my mind, what was the strongest image that I had, and I came up with one. And then I was talking with Mr. Deaton a few moments ago, and I asked him what he remembered about Lloyd, and he had the same exact memory, the same memory Mr. Zine had. Lloyd had the most beautiful, genuine, infectious smile of anyone you would ever meet. And it is beautiful and it is special that the small memorial that you placed on all of our desks this morning has Lloyd with that same beautiful, infectious, viral smile that touched people and caught people. And I have this other image of Lloyd, because our offices were down the hall from each other, of Lloyd sort of ambling down the hall. And I would see Lloyd coming from afar, and I see people nodding. You know exactly what I mean. Before you could see his face, you could see his gait, the way he would walk down the hall, and you could tell from the way he was walking that he was smiling. And then when you finally got close enough to see his face, you would see that smile. And I want you all to know that that's the image that I have in my mind today of Lloyd. Thank you.
Mr. Labange.
Thank you, Madam President, and members of the council, and to the family, and to the staff. And it is a tough time. It's like your knees get cut off when someone who you love. And to Nick, there's the go-to person that you always look to in politics, and we all have them, and a special go-to guy. And as Jan Perry spoke of in those battles over redistricting, it was Lloyd who was there. It's terrible to die, and we haven't done that yet. And tragically, this young man at 36 years old, and I am so, when you hear of, as Nick recited, an Eagle Scout, not a Loyola Cub, but a Golden Knight from St. Francis, not a Berkeley Bear, but a Bruin from UCLA, and the love that he loved the Dodgers, and the love of life, and what Jack Weiss spoke of, his smile and how you saw him. And I saw him coming into the garage, and he'd always wave and say hi, but he had the interest of the people that he served all the time. And your interest as a elected official, Nick Pacheco, and how you must feel, I don't know, because it hurts, I'm sure, all of you. And I greeted you wrongly all this morning as you walked in, because I usually greet people here. But I want you to know that I feel, because I remember Nora Tripodi was a deputy for the 14th District who took an ambulance down to Mexico and as a deputy, and unfortunately was called by God, as an angel gets called early, as Ed Reyes said. And Pat Mount, who was a great chief deputy for John Ferraro at 42 years old, got called. So we're rocked this morning. You're really rocked this morning because of this unfortunate calling. But now we have to go on. But what his words were, go team, what a great thing to say. I don't know why, what a simple way to put you all together to go for the people from Eagle Rock to Boyle Heights and all against the LA River. So that's a great model to go from. Take it from the strength. I know when my dad died and I was 17, it rocked my socks. And the only thing I could do is look up that he gave me that time to which I lived. Right then to the strength that you could draw from. So in the future, you have to draw from the strength that Lloyd, the love of what Lloyd was about, the love of wrapping people around, the love of women. The Speaker of the House calls you, Nick, and says, this is the guy. And that's pretty big time. And sitting in the corner, Eric, as you said, he was sitting in the corner, just do his job. What a wonderful thing. So that is the strength that we call from, what he did, that we could have observed, that we could call from to go on from here. It's difficult time. An Eagle Scout, and that takes a lot of work. I just got first class. I never got anywhere near there. So how much work he had to do it. And that paid off in all that he did for the short time that he was living. God bless his memory. God bless the El Sereno Branch Library now that is named after him, and get the strength from what he taught all of you and shared with us. God bless his memory.
Thank you. Councilmember Galanter.
I really can't think of very much to add to what everyone else has said, but I do want to say that I think the greatest evidence of his impact in this world is all of you, and how shaken you are, and how sad you all are, and obviously you are not alone in that. And all I can say is that I think, sad as you are and as hard as it is to carry on in the face of this, think how much sadder it would be if he had not had this kind of impact on you and on the community. And as we all walk out of here teary-eyed and choked up, let's remember that that's the inevitable consequence of having somebody who is forceful and friendly and really does reach out to people and has reached into each of us. So I wish you all well. My heart's with you, and hang in there, because you really don't have any alternative. And he will continue to live through what you do and how you feel and how each of us treats other people. And that's the best we can do.
Thank you, Ruth. Let me just add my own words of sorrow. And as we stand here, I think Alex talking about we, the elected, the ones who are fortunate enough to be elected and have that after our names, know that although we sometimes stand here and appear to be alone, we are not alone. And we can't stand here without that alter ego, without that other self. And I think in almost each and every one of our cases, we know that there's probably not a person closer to us other than those special relationships than our chief of staff. And we are not only sorrowful to the family and with the community, but also the community around us. I don't recall as many on an occasion when we have other staff members, not just from the 14th District, but from throughout the city, because this is family. Being lucky enough to be Nick's seatmate, I can't tell you how many days he'll come in, we'll start looking at the agenda, looking at ideas, and Nick says, well, Lloyd says, or Lloyd wants me to do this, or Lloyd is suggesting, and that wonderful reflection, that wonderful alter ego, that wonderful conscience, that wonderful person, along with the rest of the staff, but that one person who embodies making us whole, making us better than our single part, is reflected clearly with Nick and Lloyd Montserrat. And we all know that around here, and I think why we all feel that gaping hole, not only for you, Nick, but for all of us. And let me also now recognize Councilmember Burnson, who's been able to join us.
Yes, I just want to add my condolences to the family and friends, and I just want to impart something that was told to me a long time ago when I was very young that stuck with me through the years, and that's been a long time. And that is that a person's whole life is what they are, what people think of you on the day you die or the day of your funeral. And the regard which you have for this individual is reflected in what his life was and what meaning it had. So, again, my condolences and to all of your loss.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Please call the roll. Oh, I'm sorry. Yes, Mr. Garcetti.
I have additional adjourning motions to make today.
Mr. Garcetti, before
Sorry?
we proceed.
Yeah, please, Mr. Pacheco.
I was just simply going to say, at the end of all the adjourning motions, I was just simply going to ask for a moment of silence. So, Mr. Garcetti.
Would you like to do that first?
Let's do it at the end for everyone.
Okay. Colleagues, we had loss in my office with the passing of both the mother and mother-in-law of Sally Martinez, who works in my office. Stella Martinez passed away on December 22nd, 2002, the mother-in-law of Sally Martinez and a longtime resident of Echo Park since 1952. And she's survived by her 4 sons, Fred Martinez, Sally's husband, James Martinez, Benjamin Martinez, and Anthony Martinez. And whilst mourning that loss, Sally lost her own mother on December 29th, 2002. Celia Marin is the mother of Sally Martinez. She was 77 years old and was born in Mexico and had been living in California for 30 years, is survived by 2 sons, Rudy Marin and Toby Marin, 5 daughters, Mary Lou Field, Gloria Allison, Jose Montalongo, Sally Martinez, and Sylvia Cisneros. May they both rest in peace, and our thoughts are with Sally.
Mr. Brinson.
Yes, I'd ask that we adjourn in memory of Lillian Rubenfeld, who passed away on January 8th, 2003. Her and her husband were members of my congregation in Granada Hills for many, many years. She's survived by her husband, Manny Rubenfeld, and a daughter, Helen Bizarre.
Thank you. Mr. Weiss.
Thank you, Madam President. I ask that you also join me in adjourning in memory of Douglas Martin, who passed away recently at the age of 55. He was an extraordinary advocate for the disabled who had been stricken with polio at age 5 and then grew up to have an enormously successful career advocating for the disabled. He helped pass the Rehabilitation Act of 1973 and was instrumental in lobbying for the passage of the Americans with Disabilities Act of 1988, which we were all familiar with and which we're all grateful for. He made an enormous impact throughout the country and was well known by the many people who work on behalf of the disabled in the city of Los Angeles. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Weiss. Mr. Padilla.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Members, I ask that we adjourn in memory of Frank Enriquez, a friend of my office and a constituent of the 7th District. Frank was a lifelong resident of the North Hills community and a member of the Carpenters Union, Local 1506, for more than 16 years. He passed away at the age of 40 this last Sunday and leaves behind a wife, 3 daughters, and 3 sons. We're going to miss him.
Thank you. Before we call the roll, let us, as a city family on this very sad day, take a moment of silence. I'm sorry, Mr. Pacheco? Oh, Mr. Holden.
Thank you, Madam President. I'm sad to announce that the passing of Lorraine A. Davenport. She passed away last night suffering after a long illness. She was a longtime community activist involved in many organizations, including the National Council of Negro Women, the 10th District Women's Steering Committee, and the Black Women Forum, along with Ms. Waters. Her high level of civic activism and commitment to the 10th District will be missed, and the services are pending. This happened last night. Mr. President, members, this guy is going to shock us all by the passing of his death, Bob McGinnis. Mr. McGinnis, for years, headed the Irish Fair Foundation and celebration that we enjoyed here in City Hall each March. In fact, I was the honorary Irishman of the year for them. Mr. McGinnis worked hard to organize this special event, which celebrates Irish culture, history, and the city of Los Angeles. It's hard to think of this event and not think of Bob McGinnis, who'll be coming up in March. And Mr. LaBonge will be there. Last year, he retired from his duties with the Irish Fair. Mr. McGinnis was a longtime member of the Armed Services and was retired from the Hughes Aircraft Company. In recent months, he suffered from a rare and debilitating disease. He was 73 years old, will be next week. The funeral services took place this morning at St. Charles Catholic Church in Studio City, survived by 4 adult children.
Thank you, Mr. Holden. Let us now have all members join in the tribute in the motion in memory of Lloyd Montserrat and ask for a moment of silence. Madam Clerk, please call the roll. Council is adjourned.
Julie.
You are watching LA City View, Channel 35. Your city, your channel.